Hi and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave and this is episode 1654B and today's date is September 2nd, 2018 and the title of the episode is Brace for Impact. The storm is here. We've been warned. Prepare now. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I uploaded a new interview with V. It is on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. So all you need to do is go over to YouTube, type in X22 Report Spotlight. It'll bring you right to the interview. Or you can come over to the X22Report.com or NewSentinel.com site. Scroll down a little bit. Look over to your right-hand side. You'll see the video there. You can play it right on the site. Or go to Steemit. That's steemit.com/@X22Report. And you can play it right on Steemit. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, on Friday, we talked about how the deep state might retaliate. Q has been telling us that they might use something called Silent Horizon. And we talked about how this was a CIA operation on how they experimented with hitting different parts of the infrastructure. And this was a drill, and we know what drills are. We know how those are conducted. We know what those are really used for. And Q has been telling us about a retaliation, and we're going to get into that in a little bit because we know that the storm is about to hit, and it is hitting already because we can see all the different tweets that Trump has been putting out there, preparing the public. And it seems that once this storm hits, well, we need to be prepared, and it seems that Trump is already telling us to prepare. We're going to get into that a little bit later in the report when we review what Q has been telling us here and the information that Q has been dropping. But first, let's talk about illegal immigrants, because over the past many years, the mainstream media, Obama, they've been trying to convince us that this is a good thing. These are dreamers just like you and me, and they want to come to this country for opportunities. This is great. And there's a way to do that. You go through the checkpoints, you're vetted, make sure you're not a criminal, a human trafficker, a drug smuggler, and if it all checks out, you can come into the country. But what Obama did, they created a law that if you jump the border illegally, we will pay for everything and we'll ship you off without checking or doing anything to make sure that you're not a criminal, that you're not trafficking children, that you're not a drug trafficker. So Rasmussen did a report, took a poll, and it shows a majority of American voters, 68%, believe that illegal immigration is a major problem, and the federal government is not doing enough to fix it. And we're not just seeing that here in the United States, we're also seeing this throughout Europe now. And this is why George Soros and the rest are getting very nervous, because they realize their plans, well, they're being flushed down the toilet. And we know that Obama set up the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, and a federal judge looked at this, and this judge is saying that the DACA program is illegal and will be scrapped soon. Now, according to a federal judge in Texas, who said that the DACA program will not hold up to scrutiny in his courtroom and will likely be overturned and co-signed to the scrap heap of history in the near future, Judge Andrew Hannon said he could issue a ruling that immediately halts Obamacare DACA program due to the program's illegal nature, but he has chosen to defer the decision to allow Congress to discuss whether the program is worth saving. Well, if he says it's illegal and it needs to be scrapped, why do we need to see if it's worth saving then? The DACA program was really designed to blend this country with illegals, refugees, and whatnot to allow the United States and Europe to be blended, to be all the same, to prepare for this one world government. And they were going to try to push through TPP to have this done. So why do we need this now? We really don't. And we have to understand that it is time to remove this. Now we see Russia's contract with NASA to carry astronauts to the International Space Station will end in April of 2019. And Russia's Deputy Prime Minister said that under the current contract, American astronauts have had access to seats on Russian spacecraft in order to reach the ISS and return home. Since it's expiring, this most likely will put further pressure on NASA to restore its own capability to bring the U.S. crew members back and forth to the space station. And I think it's time for us to bring it back to the United States and not rely on another country. And you need to understand why this is all happening. And many of you already do. This was all being set up for the next phase. This was the deep state, the central bankers, where the United States was going to be entered into a war with China, Russia, and we were going to have World War III. And at the end of this war, they were hoping and they were preparing for the U.S. to lose. They were going to move the entire economic system to another country, most likely China. That's what it looks like they were building this up for. And to get other countries to the same level as the United States, they needed to sell secrets. And this is what Clinton was doing, selling military secrets. They also needed to end the space program or defund it and allow other countries to pick up the slack and actually remove a lot from the U.S. because eventually the U.S. would just be an empty shell. Their military would not be strong. Other countries would have the ability to down their planes or stop the submarines from working or stop them from launching a missile, and they would have the same technology to fight against the technology here in the United States. And we see that it's all being reversed right now. Everything that was done in the past is no longer being done. And we need to remember that there are deep state factions in each and every one of these countries. And they were calling the shots in the past. What's happening now with Xi Jinping, with Putin, they're pushing the deep state factions out of their country. And this is why we see all of this right now. This is why we see the trade wars with China. Remember, it was set up in the past for all of this to be moved away from the United States. Now, Trump is countering all this. Not Xi Jinping, but the deep state that set this up. And this is why we see this happening right now. Now, down in New Mexico, we talked about this before, where there was a compound there. They were training certain terrorists for school shootings or other events. And we know that a judge, set these individuals free. And now it looks like the FBI has now arrested all 5 New Mexico jihad compound suspects. And the 5 suspects who were arrested in a raid on northern New Mexico compound have been taken into custody by the FBI after local prosecutors botched their case, resulting in the release of 3 of the individuals. In other words, the feds have pinned firearm offenses on one of the women arrested at the compound, Jeannie LaVille, while the other 4 defendants, one of whom police believe abducted and then ritualistically murdered his 4-year-old son on the property and happens to be the son of the famous New York Iman, are charged with helping her. So according to the FBI, it looks like she was the mastermind. The other individual was the accomplice. And it seems that they have arrested these individuals. And the police also found a terrorist training manual on the property. And hopefully all of these individuals stay in prison. And we know that the CIA is involved in all this. We know the FBI at one time was involved in this. The intelligence agencies, they are involved in creating these terrorist events. And the CIA has been infiltrating a lot of our organizations. And they're still CIA operatives where they're in the news, they're in, as architects, inventors, accountants, you name it. And it looks like the conspiracy theory, where we all thought that, yes, this is the case, well, it's coming true. The CIA has publicly admitted what conspiracy theorists have said for years, that they have infiltrated every single civic organization in America. In a tweet sent Wednesday, the official CIA Twitter account told followers CIA officers work as scientists, support staff, engineers, economists, mathematicians, secretaries, accountants, inventors, architects, psychologists, police, editors, graphic designers, auto mechanics, historians, museum curators, and more. And Q does go into this a lot further, where these individuals wanted the keys to the kingdom. And this is why they were putting CIA operatives in all these different positions. And we'll get into that in just a few minutes. But let's start with Q posts. We're going to start at post 2030. This was August 31st. And Anon put up, 2 more prosecutors leave Mueller special counsel. 1, a cybercrime expert. Spokesman says not due to political bias or wrongdoing. And Q put up the article to CNBC. And basically what this says is that 2 prosecutors, one with an expert in computer crimes, they left. And these individuals are Brian Richardson and Ryan Dickey. And if there was no hack, there was no cyber attack or anything like that, there's no need for a cyber crimes specialist. They can't find anything, so there's no reason to have them. And this is why they kind of left. Post 2031. Q puts up a huge picture where there's Clinton on one side, Trump on the other, and it says endorsements by daily newspapers. All the newspapers are under Clinton: New York Daily News, Houston Chronicle, and it goes through, Washington Post, you name it, New York Times, they're all there. Under Trump, none. And under this, Q says, do you believe actual polls were conducted? Pre-election polls? Clinton favored 90 to 98%. Reconcile against results. Why is there emphasis put on polls? Define human nature. The general psychological characteristics, feelings, and behavioral traits of humankind regarded as shared by all humans. Point 1. Fake news logic, all bold brackets. If people believe the odds are hopeless, their candidates will win. Do they still make the effort to vote? Point 2. Bold. If people believe the odds are overwhelming, their candidate will win. Do they still make the effort to vote? Does 1 cancel 2? Point 3. Fake news logic. It's all bold caps in brackets. If people believe the majority of people feel a certain way about something, do they go with the majority to feel accepted? If the majority of people believe something, does that imply it must be right? Does this give rise to we are the majority mindset? Define echo chamber. A metaphorical description of a situation in which beliefs are amplified or reinforced by communication and repetition inside a closed system. Prior to new platforms, brackets bold, networks connecting people. Did the old guard have full control? Did the old guard learn from the mistake, 2016 election, and now tasking all new platforms, networks to censor? When you are awake, you can see clearly. Q. Post 2032 says like clockwork. Q. So let's just go over this for a second. Point 1, fake news logic was trying to make Trump supporters think their vote was futile and not to even bother. Point 2, if people believe their candidate will win, yes, they still vote to give them a feeling of belonging to the win. Point 3, this is what we are seeing constantly. Media is using propaganda to try and make viewers, readers, believe their mainstream media views are the majority, and that's what is the truth. If you don't agree with them, you are wrong, alone, singled out, and should be ashamed. Old guard learned that this did not work, and Trump supporters were getting correct information from non-mainstream media sources, like straight from Trump via Twitter, rallies, etc. Therefore, the old guard decided they couldn't rely on mainstream media to control the narratives, so they inserted trolls to bash Twitter feed. They partnered with Google and Facebook to shadow ban Trump supporters and conservative viewpoints. Mainstream media and the old guard are not in the journalism business. They do not want to deliver news. They want to make the news they want you to believe. And I said post 2032, it says like clockwork. Basically, Q went on to post 2033 because Q forgot to add the graphic below like clockwork. And below that, it says Victoria Toensing. And she tweeted, shame on at the Justice Department. Attorney General appointed Huber 9 months ago to look into Uranium One and FISA false application. Huber has not interviewed my client Doug Campbell, the FBI undercover informant for Uranium One. Hashtag MAGA. And then below that is post 2006 where Q talks about emotions, cloud judgment. Why is Huber being discussed now? What if the Texas congressman was not supposed to drop that name? Why is Huber being discussed now? And he went on to saying, Huber did not directly interview Bruce Orr. Huber did not. Sessions did not. And under that, it says, like clockwork, Q. Well, let's take a look at this. First of all, we know from our past report that, yes, Huber has interviewed these individuals. So phase 1 was create distance between Trump and Sessions. That has been completed. Phase 2, make the mainstream media and the deep state defend Sessions and make the American people feel like Sessions should stay and this is the Attorney General that we should have. That has been completed. Phase 3, make the mainstream media and the deep state defend Huber. That's where we are right now. Remember, Huber does the investigation. Sessions has nothing to do at this moment. He prosecutes everything that Huber and Horowitz is doing. They're doing all the investigation, they're gathering all the information, and they present that to Sessions. So right now, what Trump, what the Patriots are doing, they're making the mainstream media and the deep state defend Huber. That's where we are right now. Phase 4, drop the hammer using Sessions and Huber. Meanwhile, Trump's hands are clean due to phase 1. Let's see what they just did here. Trump is out there saying, I'm going to fire Sessions. He's no good. He's not doing his job. And he wished he did his job, but he's not. The mainstream media is supporting Sessions. Trump wants him gone. He made them report that Sessions is their guy. Trump's hands are clean right now. Phase 5 is going to be the pain. Let's move on to post 2034. And this is a link to a tweet by Randy Quaid. Under it, it says both chambers, House, Senate, in session on Tuesday, Q. So Randy Quaid on Twitter, and he tweeted, some people have asked why I perform Trump tweets. It's because for the past 11 years, I have almost entirely been robbed of reputation and job as an actor by the Googleplex fake news, and Trump writes better dialogue than Hollywood anyway. So Randy Quaid has been blacklisted for his politics and now is dramatically reading Trump tweets for fun. Let's move on to post 2035. Gave a link to Fox News, California bullet train project on track to blow through billions more dollars. Under it, it says, does this mean more fires? Paul and Nancy Pelosi Charitable Foundation Q. So from this article, they're going to be spending a lot more money, billions and billions more, on this train. Out of the charitable foundations, it looks like Paul and Nancy Pelosi's charitable foundation is one of the oldest. It was created back in 1992. And if you go to the IRS, you really can't find that much information on their charity, which, according to the rules, I thought they had to post this to the IRS and it's for public consumption, but there's not much there. Q also mentions that, is Pelosi going to start a fire? Does this mean more fires? So is he saying that Pelosi might be implicated in the California fires? Maybe, maybe not. Let's move on to post 2036. Q put up a lot of different links here. Fox News. Gavin Newsom wants free health care. Illegal immigrants if elected governor. California one step closer to expanding Medicaid for illegal immigrants. And Q went down the line. What about the budget? Why would California elected officials knowingly collapse the budget? Who elects California officials? Q put up a link to Fox News where it says California DMV allows illegals to vote GOP chairman. Money to be made? Brackets bold example. Put up another link. Forbes. How American citizens finance health care for undocumented immigrants. Big Pharma donates how much to California, New York elected officials. Compare versus other states. Why are California and New York vital areas of control? Think ports. Think legal protection. And Adam broke this down. When Q says, what about the budget? Well, they really haven't had one. Who elects California officials? 144% of all people over the age of 18 in LA. Money to be made? Ask Pelosi, Wooders, Feinstein, Schiff. Big Pharma donates how much to California, New York elected officials. as much as they want. Compare versus other states. Other states don't set precedent. Why are California and New York vital areas of control? Well, you have the celebrities, you have the ports, you have immigration, you have everything coming in there. And of course, it says think ports, immigration, and bringing all the illegals into these states. Think legal protection. Well, let's think of mafia protection money. Let's move on to post 2037. Q put everything up from post 2036, and below that shows a vote button. It's red, white, and blue, and it says your vote counts, and usually get this after you vote. And below that it says, we will do our job to protect the vote. Will you do yours? Fight, 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 all caps. So it looks like the Q team and the Patriots are all over this, and they will ensure the election integrity nationwide. The deep state won't be able to steal seats through fraud this year, which is why they're increasing their ground game. And everyone needs to go out and vote and do your job. Post 2038. There's an American flag. Where we go one, we go all. We the people, from sea to shining sea, let freedom ring. Patriots, it is your time. If America falls, the world falls. United we'd stand. God bless you all. Q+. Let's move on to post 2039. Q put up a tweet from Judicial Watch, and it says, or an anon put this up, breaking: in response to JW's Freedom of Information request lawsuit, Department of Justice admitted that Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court held no hearings on the FISA spy application targeting Carter Page. This is a former Trump campaign advisor who was the subject of a 4 FISA warrant. So down below it says, we are the judges. They were comped. Judicial Watch, and that's the link to this article about Carter Page. If you bake it, he will crumb. And Q says, big, big, big Q. So Judicial Watch says, no such hearings were held with respect to the acknowledged FISA applications. Accordingly, no responsive hearing transcripts exist. So what they're really saying is that the FISA court is just a rubber stamp. Let's move on to post 2040, and Q put up a picture of Trump's tweets. There's 2 of them. The first one, Orr told the FBI the fake dossier wasn't true. It was a lie. And then the FBI was determined to use it anyway to damage Trump and to perpetrate a fraud on the court to spy on the Trump campaign. This is a fraud on the court. The Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court is in charge of the FISA court. He should direct the presiding judge, Rosemary Collier, to hold a hearing, hold all of these people from the Department of Justice and FBI in there. And if she finds there were crimes committed, and there should be a criminal referral by her. So Q put below this the Judicial Watch link, and also big, 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 big Q. Let's move on to post 2041. And Q put up a couple of links here, and it has to do with the FISA court. One of them has to do with Snowden and talking about that the FISA court is a rubber stamp. And basically that's what it is. And the other link is about Nunes, where he's grappling over inviting Chief Justice John Roberts to testify. And we can see right now that all of this is coming out into the open. Rex actually kind of broke this down here, so I'm going to read some of what Rex tweeted out. You can find corroborating detail in the page struck text as well as Orr Steele messages. Start here. But here's one I thought I'd pick out 2 days before the application was made. October 19, 2016, in the final debate, Clinton accuses Trump of being Putin's puppet. She was in on the scam for sure. Then on October 21st, 2016, Department of Justice make their application as required by the act. This is rubber stamped by Chief Judge Collier without a hearing. By the way, I'm not suggesting wrongdoing on her part, more that she was hoodwinked. It was signed by FISA Judge Rosemary Collier unknown FBI supervisory special agent, FBI Director James Comey, Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates, and fully redacted Department of Justice representatives. And he went on to say, something else happened on October 21st. Admiral Rogers, NSA Director, sick to his stomach, gave the FISC a major heads up of massive NSA FISA abuse he uncovered. So to recap all this, there was no FISC hearing for the Carter Page warrant. That's because the Obama administration bypassed the court using a story they knew was false to issue an emergency warrant to spy on an innocent citizen. An eye-watering fraud. What are the chances that what is outlined above is in the classified FISA application? Very high. The same application that the fake news has almost certainly had, unredacted since early 2017. This is the worst crime in U.S. history, easily. It's abomination, a travesty, a shredding of the rule of law and the Constitution. It's worse than any of us ever imagined possible. IMO, every one of the direct conspirators must be jailed, including Obama and Clinton, every single one. After all, these crimes almost destroyed America. And while doomed, they are still working hard at it right now. Let's move on to post 2042. Q puts up, set up X1, gave us a link to thehill.com. Homeland Security confirms special entry for Russian lawyer. Loretta Lynch, paper trail, special entry. Natalia to Manafort. Pfizer warrant issued, approved, Manafort. Mueller to Manafort. Pfizer warrant issued, approved, Papadopoulos. Mueller to Papadopoulos. Pfizer warrant issued, approved, Page. Mueller to Page. Pfizer warrant issued, approved, Flynn. Mueller to Flynn. You must target, remove, and silence all those illegally targeted for FISA survey plus UK assistance. UK assistance plus FISA survey included all upstream collection, tangent contracts, umbrella survey, foreign target designators, create leapfrog hops to isolate real targets, non-FCOMs, section 702, gave a link to NSA.gov. Example, P talks to X, X talks to Y, Y talks to Z, PXYZ equals bulk data collection, umbrella, all bold caps, brackets. UK assists allows for normal FISA law, deconstruct. Deconstruct includes D2 spy insert. Deconstruct includes non-FISA warrant, special ops, warrant, special ops classified public. So the point is, the FISA warrant extends well beyond the original target, and that's by design. Notably, Q points out the NSA stopped this practice, and went on to say that after considerable evaluation of the program and available technology, NSA had decided that its Section 702 foreign intelligence surveillance activities will no longer include any upstream internet communications that are solely about a foreign intelligence target. Instead, the surveillance will now be limited to only those communications that are directly to and from a foreign intelligence target. Let's move on to post 2043. And Q puts up, they want the keys to the kingdom, puts up Chicago Tribune, Washington Post, CNN. Basically, the first one says that ex-CIA officers running for Congress as Democrats, and the other one says Intel officers running against Trump in 2018. Clowns are everywhere. And Q put down below, active, all bold in brackets, Q. And remember, these people are basically trying to counter everything that Trump is doing. And they're all active right now. And active most likely means that these are not ex-CIA, as the media is claiming, but rather they are active CIA agents trying to infiltrate Congress. And this is very dangerous. And this could be part of a much bigger plot, like maybe an assassination attempt. Post 2044, Q puts up a picture of Obama and many others in the office, and behind the crowd, you can see Jeff Sessions, and it looks like he's kind of like smiling behind there, and above it, it says soon. And this will happen very, very soon. Post 2045, an anon put up a redacted letter, and it says, anyone see this yet? Phone fagging, didn't see any notables with this. New Clinton emails, they call her Alice. Email from Hatter, Alice in Wonderland. Going back to post 83, November 4th, 2017. Simplified, Alice and Wonderland, Hillary and Saudi Arabia. References, Hillary Clinton in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, Saudi Arabia, the Bloody Wonderland. Under it says, but how could we know? And under it gave a Freedom of Information link. And basically what this means is that Q reported this before this information was released, and Q knew Clinton was called Alice in Wonderland. So that's pretty amazing right there. And this letter, if you go down and you read it, there's many different parts to it. You can see, and I'll read part of it. It says, Alice, your recent adventures warrant use of Alice. Today discuss coverage of your trip with our British friend. This is redacted, this part. His take is that America should reconsider a monarchy, assuming Madam Secretary will accept the post. Yep, we also feel Mid-East situation would have more clarity and Gulf of Mexico disaster would have been dealt with sooner. My take is that I am just so proud to know the most influential American on the planet and still want her as a commander-in-chief. Another adventure behind Alice, accomplished perfectly. Monarchy? So, how many campaign volunteers will need for that one? We'll find them. Hatter. And you can see that this is all about Clinton. Post 2046, Q put up everything from post 2045, added a letter down below. And if you're wondering who Marty Tory, also known as the Hatter, is, and why he had so much contact with Clinton, well, you got to read the email chain. He's very interested in human trafficking and wanted to connect Hillary to former TSA head Dave Stone. Clinton and Stone did meet, and 4 months later, Stone was dead. So at the funeral, they asked for donations to ForgottenChildren.net instead of flowers. That charity supposedly closed shop in 2014 for the record, but the site is still active. Let's move on to post 2047. Q put up a Twitter link, and it says, do you believe in coincidences? Enjoy the show. And the link is the ABC Washington Post poll was by far the least accurate 1-2 weeks out from the 2016 election. I call it suppression poll, but by election day, they brought us, out of shame, to about even. They will never learn. And this is a nice little Q confirmation in that POTUS and Q are on the same page. Post 2048, Q put up the following information. Saudi Arabia, access closed. Epstein Island, access closed. Haiti, access closed. North Korea, access closed. China, access closed. Russia, access closed. Cuba, access closed. Sudan, access pending, government. Saudi Arabia, U.S. push. Syria, access pending, government. Yemen, access pending, government. Libya, access pending, main port closed, limited. Somalia, access pending. So let's continue with this Q post. Under it, it says, Hillary Rodham Clinton equals Alice. SA equals Wonderland, Saudi Arabia. Who are the white rabbits? Reread drops, Saudi Arabia. Have faith for God and country, Q. Now, the white rabbits are the victims of trafficking used by the deep state for whatever twisted ends they deem fit. One Annan kind of spelled it out here. White rabbits, posted with pictures of Podesta's art. In the art, we can see that white rabbits are small, tied up, being captured, taken away, backpacks, terrified, blindfold equal dark, torture, mutilated, being stripped of humanity. White rabbits are therefore children. Men in white rabbit costumes are, in costume obviously men, not a rabbit. Rabbit costume, wolf in sheep's clothing, doing the capture, torture, trafficking, etc. explained above. So the men in rabbit costumes are those that harm children, whether traffickers, kidnappers, pedos, and worse. Hillary Rodham Clinton and Wonderland. Clinton is Alice because she follows the rabbit children to bloody Wonderland, Saudi Arabia. Additional points for her creating Alice as her code name. Q is Alice because Q also followed rabbits, but to save them and us. That is just the start, though, because the further down the rabbit hole we go, the more unreal it becomes. Just a caution, if you think the Podesta art is sick and evil, pray, because it gets a whole lot worse. Post 2049. Q puts up everything that we had in Post 2048, and down below gave us some links. Child marriage still an issue in Saudi Arabia. Saudi migrant workers subject to abuse. And Saudi Arabia was priority. We wish this was a dream. Q. And there's still problems in Saudi Arabia. Moving on to Post 2050. And Anon put up this chart, and you can view this chart on X22Report.com. If you're on YouTube, you'll see it there. And you can follow this chart and follow all the breadcrumbs on the chart. Q also puts up all the pictures of the white rabbits, and below it says pass drops important to frame context. These people need to be all eliminated. Those who know cannot sleep. Let's move on to Post 2051. Q put up a link to a YouTube video, and this is about the military, each branch of the military. And if you look at it, Q posts this video to start at 119 seconds, and then if you look at the upload date, it was posted on 11/19/2017. I don't think that's a coincidence, but I'm not sure the significance as of yet. Post 2052, there's a link to Judicial Watch, and it says Judicial Watch versus State Hillary emails. And under it, it says, I hope you and Chris enjoy your time in the land of Alice. And the MH, all the best from Hanoi H, nothing to see here. Q. So the media would have you believe this is normal. If they were working for your benefit, this would be plastered across every screen for the next month as actual investigative reporters dug into all the connections. But they didn't do any of it, and they're not showing any of it. Post 2053. Q put up whitehouse.gov, presidential actions, presidential proclamation, National Preparedness Month for 2018. National Preparedness Month is a time to focus our attention on the importance of preparing our families, homes, businesses, and communities for disasters that threaten our lives, property, and homeland. During this time, we also honor the brave men and women who selflessly respond to crises and disasters, rendering aid to those in need. These first responders, who work tirelessly to safeguard our nation and protect our citizens, deserve our utmost gratitude and appreciation. Over the past year, communities nationwide and across the territories have witnessed and endured damage from multiple hurricanes, wildfires, tornadoes, floods, volcanic eruption, and other natural disasters. The historic hurricane season of 2017 included 3 catastrophic storms that made landfall within a month and was followed by a destructive series of wildfires in California. Combined, these natural disasters affected 47 million people, and tens of thousands were mobilized to provide aid, comfort, and assistance. We are also especially mindful of those currently affected by ongoing wildfires in California, Oregon, and Colorado. In spite of tremendous challenges, the resilience of the American people continues to prevail. Tragedies are somber reminders that preparedness is a shared responsibility and that it is critical to maintain readiness. All Americans can prepare for potential disasters by developing and practicing a family emergency response plan, assembling a disaster supply kit, signing up for alerts and mobile devices, setting aside emergency savings, and maintaining adequate insurance policies for their homes and businesses. The Federal Emergency Management Agency Ready campaign outlines other important steps to best prepare for major disasters. This month, I encourage all Americans to take the opportunity to ensure that they have an emergency response plan in place and ready to be properly executed. Emergencies and disasters test the resilience and strength of families, communities, and our nation. It is impossible to avoid every challenge and threat, but we can and must prepare for them. By doing so, we can help protect our communities and save lives. Now, therefore, I, Donald Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim September 2018 as National Preparedness Month. I encourage all Americans, including federal, state, and local officials, to take action to be prepared for a disaster or emergency by making and practicing their emergency response plans. Each step we take to become better prepared makes a real difference in how our families and communities will respond and persevere when faced with the unexpected. Donald Trump. So it looks like Trump is recommending we practice emergency preparedness for natural disasters, civil unrest because of what is coming in Red October. I imagine that means the arrest warrants will come out for Clinton, Podesta, Brennan, Comey, and we might see civil unrest. We might see something happen. Or, on the other hand, we know that Q has told us from post-2023 that there's going to be a retaliation. Horizon active, which means silent horizon from the CIA, where they were practicing a drill which involved them cyber attacking infrastructure, financial institutions, and whatnot. So it seems like the storm is here. Everything is going to be released. And Q is telling us we need to be prepared for what is coming. We might see things go down. We might see things out of control. We might see people very angry, very pissed off. We might see Antifa out there trying to get riots started. We might see financial interruptions. We might see many different things. We don't know how this is going to turn out. We don't know how the American people are going to handle this. And if you add the deep state into this, they can push this to the extreme by trying to get everyone riled up like they tried to do when Trump was elected. So we're heading down that path. Get prepared, get ready, because Q is definitely warning of something. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.